Good morning, my name is Stephen Capaldo and it is Wednesday, May 10, 2023. Thank you for listening, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about something called matchmaking, which I don't really know very much about, but if you've listened to some of my messages, you know that the less I know about a topic, the more opinions I have, so I'm going to give you some of my opinions. And the reason why I came to this was because I stumbled upon something on Netflix that I thought was very interesting. It was a series called Jewish Matchmaking, and I think there were sort of different levels of interest that I had in this. I think a lot of the principles that were being portrayed as part of the Jewish culture, I think really are just part of being a normal human with common sense. Like if you're looking for someone, you want someone who can love, you want someone who is honest, you want someone who works hard. I don't think that particularly belongs to one cultural group. But there was one principle that was that the matchmaker, and there is such a thing, a matchmaker, and actually the Russians do quite a bit of it. If you want to try to get matched, you can go to someone called a svacha and see what can be done. But I mean, it's something that's kind of an occupation in some places. And this lady on this show was in particular a Jewish matchmaker, and she made a point which I think was very good, and people don't think of enough, is that the real matchmaking is done in heaven. Two souls in heaven are matched, and these two souls come from eternity past, and they have actually the soul body. They're really angelic in nature, and then they get lost from each other at some point, and then they reunite, and they become what she called soulmates. And I've always been uncomfortable with the term soulmate, because it can just mean so many different things to so many different people. I think that the idea of a heavenly match of souls, and they get lost and go through different trials and tribulations, and eventually they find each other and help people and this type of thing. The divine counterparts, that's a heavenly concept, and you don't really know about that until later. But the term she was using, the term soulmate, to describe this, what I would call heavenly counterpart, or your counterpart. I mean, but it's at the level of creation. It's at the level of the Creator, and the 3D soulmate. In my mind, there's often confusion in the way this is used. 3D soulmate, it's anybody that you say it is. I mean, it's really, I mean, you can be a soulmate with your dog. I mean, it's, it doesn't mean you're going to marry your dog, but your dog can be a soulmate. I had a pet guinea pig once, and I was a soulmate. I considered myself a pet, the soulmate. The guinea pig was kind of a soulmate until one day I had him on my bed, and his little dinky, he started unwinding, and I didn't know what he was going to do, and then he peed all over me. So after that, I was less of a soulmate, I think, of the guinea pig. But the people throw around these terms, and I think really that there's a different concept. There's a sort of divine, eternal concept, and then there's kind of an earthly concept, the 3D soulmate. I mean, normally people decide if they're compatible. There's a checklist, and they go down the checklist and this type of thing. If you're heavenly counterparts, you're kind of welded together. You can't escape. You don't find out until later, but you can't escape. I mean, you can try to escape, but if it's God's will, what Jesus said was what God has brought together, let no man tear apart. And you can try to tear this apart, but it won't be successful. And some people, they don't know. I mean, basically, we don't know. Do we have one? Who is it? And how this all works? But there is something about creation where where in my view, as I understand even the text, that God does pair souls together, and that these souls come from eternity past, and that these souls are really kind of, really angelic. They have some kind of angelic makeup, that people should really learn about and study about, and it's really part of creation. Very often the term of right man, right woman is used, and I think if you're talking about a right man, right woman, it would be at this divine level of creation. It wouldn't be soulmate, with a checklist, do they meet certain criteria. That's really the level of it. And the other thing is that so really the one that you're seeking and the one that you are faithful to, should be the one that's the heavenly counterpart. And I understand that that's a difficult concept to deal with, but the term right man, right woman, I believe refers more to this. It's used quite frequently, but I think it's misunderstood with the concept of soulmate, which is more three-dimensional, what happens on Earth, and then you find out later, about the divine, when you come to that realization. But you don't find out about it now, generally. And the other thing is that I wanted to say was, there's a lot of questions about who can the soulmate be? Is it always man and always woman? And I know that there are different theories about this, and I know that people get very upset and emotional about things, but as far as creation is concerned, the work of the Creator, there's divine masculine and divine feminine. And I know there are theories of other things, but in my experience, it's the divine masculine and the divine feminine should work together. A soulmate, you can call yourself a soulmate in some other situation if you want, but it doesn't mean that it fits the criteria of the heavenly counterpart. I understand, people have different viewpoints about that, and it's not an attack on anybody. I think the most important things that we have to know is that we love our neighbor as ourselves, and as we love God, and we certainly, whatever we do in intimacy means private, so things should be private, things should not be political, and always protect the children. People have asked me at times, well, are you an ally? Well, I don't even like being put in that type of situation, because you're creating a political divide between people. I do my best to love my neighbor as myself. That's what I try to do. And people have their intimacy that they have, and if it's private and it's not political and it doesn't have anything to do with children, the way children have been targeted, no, that's not acceptable, the way they're targeted, or they make decisions about changing their gender without really being of the age that they're able to do that, or they can do it without parental consent, this type of thing. No, I don't believe in that. But I don't believe that hatred solves any problem. So if you think that that's going to solve your problem, I think that that's a mistake, really. And by the same token, any problem can be solved with love, but no problem can be solved with hate. And it's a difficult topic. I can tell you, I can explain a little bit my own background, that if I had just one day, said to my parents, I'd like to have a conversation about the LGBTQIA plus community, and cisgender, and the what do they call it, the TERFs, trans exclusive radical feminism, this type of thing. If I said that to my parents growing up, I'm quite sure the conversation would have turned ugly very quickly. It would not have been a pleasant conversation. So you go from there, and then you try to figure stuff out. I had an experience, later I became a parent, and one of my kids spent some time, in this community. And my first reaction was, if there's a community, why was I not invited? But that's not how it works. And then at the end, the decision was, no, I'm not really this. And she went on and did, had a husband and kids. But I don't want to embarrass her too much. Sometimes she watches these messages. Maybe she should make sure her kids are not watching this. this part of it. But that's how you go from your own home experience, and then you become a parent, and then you have a certain way of looking at things, and then maybe you try to turn to something like the Bible. And the Bible, we know it's been changed a lot, and the problem with the Bible, and there is a problem with the Bible, it's a human problem, a man-made problem, it's not God's problem. The Word and the Logos are perfect, that the divinity, the divine is perfect, God is perfect. But humans like to change things, and humans very easily can get into a control mentality, controlling and manipulating other people. And so if you try to look for answers to a lot of questions, not just this question, but if you try to look for answers to a question like this in the Bible, it's very easy to embark on a road of legalism and self-righteousness and looking down on people instead of loving people. Because I can only reaffirm, I don't think any problem can be solved with hatred. And I also don't think that, I do think that any problem could be solved with love. Now, when you love someone else, are they going to love you back? It's not really the point. It's not really the point, whatever the situation is. I'm going through some family things right now, some family situations right now, very complicated. I don't know how things are going to be worked out, but and it does, I guess it is kind of a distraction. I could be doing other things that now have to be kind of reorganized or delayed and this and that. Because so many things come up, there's so much going on and so many things come up at once. But, you might be in a family situation like that where, things don't go as you hoped, and yet here you are, you're trying to pick up the pieces and figure out a way to have healing, or, at least some kind of peace. But the sad fact is that in many families there is darkness, and the darkness doesn't want to come into the light. It's the darkness doesn't want to realize, what's dark and what's light. I mean, the issue is not. I mean, you have to be willing to go through the darkness to come into the light. Yet, but people want to dwell on these issues of dividing everybody, man and woman, and Republican and Democrat, and all of the different divisions that Satan and those entities that are related to Satan, that they're able to get away with because we allow them to get away with it. We shouldn't be so much concentrating on this whole business of gender. I mean, if you follow those basic principles for gender as you would follow them for anything else, right? Love God, love your neighbor as yourself. Do not publicize or politicize that which should be kept private, and just go on and especially protect the children. The children are the ones that need our protection, no matter what someone's view is of man, woman, whatever. So that's really how I made a progression. This was the kind of progression that happened to me, is that, growing up in a family that would not have welcomed any kind of discussion on this topic, and then being a parent myself and having to work through that, and then thinking maybe you could get answers to things like that out of the Bible, which, you really have to have the Holy Spirit if you want legitimate answers from the Bible. I think on this topic and on other topics, it's very easy to become legalistic and self-righteous, and it's not, you're just detouring away from the path of love. And then finally understanding that and letting the Holy Spirit be the true teacher, the true mentor, and just take it from there. So I just wanted to touch a little bit on the idea of matchmaking. I wasn't trying to make anything terribly serious about it. Just the idea that people that there are different ways of looking at it, and I was quite interested with the Jewish way of looking at it, is that the angelic souls are actually created in the heavenlies, and then they manifest later. You know who they are later, and you can go through a whole life on earth and not know exactly who it is, or you might know who it is. So it's just a different way of looking at it, something that's very old. a beautiful thing that God has created, which is the possibility for, you know, equal souls, different roles, right? You know, the woman has the ability, I was just saying, you know, the woman has the ability very often to run systems and projects and stuff like that, and got stuck in a patriarchal system where the patriarch was saying, all you can do is, you know, run the household. That's your system, and you can't run any other systems. And actually, that's not true. Based on divine wisdom, the woman is very good at that kind of, you know, micro organization and figuring out stuff and with people and this and that. And the guy, the male, the divine masculine, the best, generally the divine masculine is going to be kind of a broad thinker, is, you know, can say, what do you think about running this, to the woman? And the woman can probably run it, you know, and then the man would struggle to run it. Let the woman run it. And what does the man do? The man is there as an advisor, as a consultant, you know, to keep things on track, you know, that type of thing. And in the end should end up being the biggest supporter and fan of the divine feminine. I mean, that's really the way it should be. Then you have two equal souls with different roles. And I'm not trying to give you some corny poetry, but I think that that's really divine masculine and divine feminine. Then they really have, they're really a team, they're really a couple, and they operate in the optimal way, that they're each operating in their relative and absolute strengths, and if it's something that they're not as good at, it's the other one can kind of pick that up. So anyway, I touched on a lot of things, and you know, I'm sure that some people will be annoyed by what I touched on, but I think that we have to start being a little bit more honest about who we are, where we came from, and you know, what the Creator does and what we do, very much sometimes in opposition to the Creator. So I'm going to leave it at that, and thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.